94.3 The Dude is very grateful to our men and women in uniform. We're proud to recognize local members of our military by turning the spotlight on them right now in our Soldier Salute.
I'm your host, United States Marine Corps veteran Ethan Stitch Gardner, and on today's Soldier Salute, I have United States Army veteran and commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 6740 Lake Murray, Ginger Graham. Ginger, thanks for being here. Thanks for your service. Tell me a little bit about your story and your road to the United States Army.
Thank you, Ethan, for having me today. I was born along the shores of Ohio, right outside Cleveland, Ohio. And although I grew up a huge fan of Lake Erie, the Cleveland Browns, and the Cleveland Indians, I always just had a plan that I wanted to get out of there. I had no aspirations for college, no great interest in any topic specifically. So I knew that when graduation would come, that I would have no plan, and there was no job really out in our community that was going to sustain me. So I knew that my family had a long line of veterans, so I always knew that's where I would end up. Maybe that's why I didn't have aspirations for college, because I must have had some kind of secret sense that the military would be my background. So I took the ASVAB test, which is the entry to get into the military, and I ended up in the Army. I was given an option to select where I would like to go. The Army gives you a dream sheet of choices, and I chose Georgia and Germany. My father had been stationed in the Army in Germany, so that would be a natural choice for me. And the Army was generous enough to give me Washington, D.C. and Korea. I didn't even know where Korea was at that time, but I was happy to still be going in the Army. And interestingly enough, I ended up at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, which is where many of my family members live. So it was kind of like coming home. Boot camp was nothing like home, but it's where I ended up and where I graduated training.
Ginger, thanks for being here. Thanks for your service. You talked with me earlier about how you didn't have the opportunity or the means to go to college right after high school. Didn't have the money, maybe didn't have as much maturity as you wanted. Did you use the Army as a way to get you into college at a better time in your life?
Absolutely. Our country tries to push our children to go straight into college like it's a requirement to succeed at life. While I was in high school, I was well aware that I had no plans afterwards, and I definitely had no money to pay for the college. So I knew the military would be a stepping stone to help me mature a little bit, to give me some experience under my belt, maybe build my resume a little bit. But most importantly, it would give me some money to help pay for school, because the Army was paying GI Bill to some of the people that joined, and I knew it would give me not only the money but the maturity to be ready for college. I had a lot of friends that went to school. They wasted a lot of years changing their majors. They didn't know what they wanted to do. They just knew they had to go to college. I just chose another path so that I could decide later on what I wanted to do.
I had a really interesting guest on a couple weeks ago, Patrick Jones from the Public Affairs Office at Fort Jackson. His opinion is that everybody should serve. Everybody should serve a small stint in the military. Do you have the same opinion?
I definitely agree with that. The only exception I would have to that policy would be if somebody knew they wanted to be a doctor, or if someone already knew they wanted to be a lawyer. The length of time to obtain those occupations are so lengthy that I'm not sure the military would be necessary to take them on that path. But a 2-year stint or a 3-year stint in the military would help everyone grow up enough so they wouldn't waste their time. It would just give them experience in life. When you go to college, you're nothing more than an older high school student, and you're not ready for the real world. So I think a couple years in the military would help a lot of people.
Ginger, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your service. From 1986 to 1987, you spent a year in South Korea. I spent a month in South Korea, and it was one of the best times of my life. Did you have as good of a time that I had?
Most definitely. I will have to admit that my age at the time gave me the advantage of being naive and not knowing what to expect or expecting too much. But from the minute I got there, their culture was welcoming to me. The people were so friendly. And I can say that because I was so open to learning about their culture, they welcomed me with open arms. I took all the tours. I went into homes. I learned all about the people. I ate the food every day. On our post, we had an American chow hall, but normally I would eat at the Korean chow hall because I just became so accustomed to their food, and they just were always impressed with that because most Americans would not come within 10 feet of kimchi.
Oh, and kimchi's real good.
It just became a staple for me. I understood. So it was a beautiful country.
Did you drink the soju?
Yes, I drank the soju. I can't even explain to anyone who's never tried it. Anything you get in the United States right now would not be the same as what we had back then, but the bottle was not much bigger than, say, a soft drink can. For about 75 cents, it would be enough alcohol for probably 3-4 people. It's debilitating.
Soju, as I found out when I was over there, is not regulated by the Koreans. So the same bottle sitting on the shelf can be a 10, 15 times higher percentage of alcohol than the one sitting right next to it.
It's a surprise each time.
Happy birthday.
Right.
Ginger, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your service. You're the commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 6740. Tell me about the post. What does the Veterans of Foreign Wars do for the people of South Carolina?
Their primary goal is helping veterans and advocating for veterans, bringing awareness to veterans' needs and reaching out to veterans in need. VFW 6740 at Lake Murray has been very active in the year that I've been there. I have been part of a lot of programs, which include visiting veterans in nursing homes and assisted living. We educate the community for all the important military or veteran days like POW, MIA Recognition Day in September, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. We spend a lot of time on those programs because they're the ones that really highlight the importance of our military and our veterans. We also attend funerals at Fort Jackson for any unclaimed soldier. A lot of times we have veterans out there that end up in hard times and they may pass away with no friends or family, and so we want to stand there and claim those veterans to let them know they didn't die alone. We're there beside them.
Not to say that any of that is small, because nothing about that is small. But on the spectrum of things, the Post, along with all of that, has also been a part of big donations to veterans charities all over the state. Big Red Barn Retreat, the Warrior Path program put on by Range 214. The Post is doing things unheard of in the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post community. What's next?
Well, right now, our biggest project, we're focusing all of our attention on a project we're calling the Van for Sully. The VFW always stands by its own. We not only help our veterans, we help our veterans in our own family. And currently, we have a South Carolina department commander who, merely a week after taking office, had a debilitating stroke and has been left in the difficult position of being stuck in a motorized wheelchair. And his wife really struggles to get him to his military appointments, to get to VFW meetings. He is completely dependent on his wife and his grandson. So our auxiliary president, Karen Zalodowski, recommended that we find a way to get him a vehicle that can handle a motorized wheelchair. So we are doing everything we can to raise money to get him a vehicle that will accommodate his large motorized vehicle.
As the commander of Post 6740, you know better than anybody what the Post needs. What does it need right now? What do we need to stay healthy and stay helping the community?
Our most important need right now are volunteers. We have programs every month, every weekend, every week. We have so many things going on right now, and it can be overwhelming when the same people are doing all of the work. So volunteering is huge, and people in our community are more than welcome to come find out what needs we have. But one of our greatest needs is to learn more about grant writing. I have only written one grant, and it was turned down, so we're going to reapply for the same one this year. But we need more education on writing grants, and more importantly, probably we need people that have already succeeded with writing grants, because we're working too hard to raise money. To keep our volunteers happy, I need to ask less work of them while we're still obtaining enough money to fulfill our mission, which is helping veterans, providing scholarships, being there with a relief fund to help veterans in need. We really need more experience in writing grants, and if people have ideas, maybe ideas of what grants would be more beneficial for a veteran organization such as ourselves, we are always looking for help in that area.
As a young guy, when I got out of the military, the Veterans of Foreign Wars was a place where all the old men went to go smoke cigarettes inside, drink cheap beer, and hang out and tell war stories. Is that what it is today?
It is not what it is today. VFW 6740 has worked really hard to change the impression of the VFW, and the VFW as a national unit is really struggling to make everybody realize that we are veteran-minded first. Our post has a bar that we refer to as a canteen, and it is a great place for us to meet and tell stories, commiserate, laugh, cry. We spend a lot of time together there, but that is not the priority of our post. Our priority is helping veterans.
I'll be the first to tell you, If you're looking for a community-based relationship of veterans, you can go online to theveteransofforeignwars.org, and you can check out the Veterans of Foreign Wars post 6740 Lake Murray on Facebook. Ginger, I've noticed as of late that we're starting to lose some of our older veterans. The greatest generation is unfortunately passing away. I've seen almost a dozen funerals being conducted for veterans who have no families left. Is there anything out there right now putting on a good quality ceremony for these men and women?
Definitely. I have become familiar with a group called the Dignity Memorial Homeless Veterans Burial Program. The director of that program is William Lynch. William Lynch puts on programs to honor these unclaimed veterans as if they were high-ranking individuals in the military. If you were to go to one of these services that are open to the public, you would be amazed to see the people that come from Fort Jackson. The Patriot Guard always leads the way from the funeral home to Fort Jackson National Cemetery, which is open to anyone. It's heartbreaking to see somebody that may have died unclaimed, may have died homeless, may have died with no family or friends, and here are these people that they would never have known probably in the world, and they're all standing side by side with tears in their eyes, paying respect to a veteran. And he may have been titled unclaimed at the time of his passing, but during the service, I can guarantee you that he's claimed by every branch of the military. And it's an event. If you have not been to a service at Fort Jackson for one of these soldiers, you should try to fit it into your schedule, because it will give you the great pride that veterans feel for representing their country.
Ginger, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for your service. Part 2 of our extensive information on the importance of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. Tell me some more about the immensely incredible things that the VFW is doing all over the country.
The VFW makes it a point to reach out into the communities. We work with the cadets in the JROTC. We work with Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. We are currently getting ready to judge essays from junior high through high school for the Voice of Democracy program and the Patriot Pen program. And that's an opportunity for students to write an essay, what makes America great? That's the topic this year. And they're eligible for up to $30,000 scholarship. So for students that want to take the time to participate, they have an opportunity for a huge amount of payoff and a scholarship opportunity. We are also in the process of nominating a teacher for a Teacher of the Year award. There are opportunities to give scholarships and awards to first responders. The VFW just wants to help the community in any way they can, and they've got their fingers in pretty much everything, trying to make it a better environment.
Ginger, not all veterans qualify to be Veterans of Foreign Wars. Does the VFW have anything for them?
We have an auxiliary that's attached to the VFW. They're our biggest supporters. In fact, without the auxiliary, I don't think a lot of VFWs would survive. The auxiliaries hold a lot of the events, they raise a lot of money, and their main purpose is to support the veterans. To be eligible to be in the auxiliary, you would have to have had grandparents, parents, children, or siblings that had served in a conflict zone. Unfortunately, not every veteran is eligible to be in the VFW, but there are always opportunities for you to stop in and see what we're working on.
We talked a lot about the VFW, but we haven't talked a lot about you. Do you love it?
Absolutely. I would never have thought when I joined the Army I would end up here. I realize now that my 3 short years in the Army have led me to a path where now I can finally achieve my purpose, and my purpose is to help veterans.
To learn more about the Veterans of Foreign Wars, you can go online to vfw.org, or you can follow Veterans of Foreign Wars post 6740 Lake Murray on Facebook. Ginger, without getting new, younger veterans into the VFW won't survive. Younger veterans usually have kids that come with them. It makes for a better environment if the kids can come. What's VFW 6740 doing about the family aspect of veterans in their lives?
We are thrilled when the young veterans bring their kids. It changes the whole environment. It brightens the whole mood. We currently have a small kids area where we have educational toys and a lot of things to keep them occupied, small tables where they feel like that's just their spot. And we're currently planning, when the funding comes through, hopefully within the next year, we plan on knocking out a wall and making the area much larger so that the kids will have their own space that's just for them, no adults allowed, just a nice place for them to go. But we would not survive without our young veterans. As our older veterans, get up in the years, they can't contribute. They can't be the officers and do the legwork. So without our young veterans, we would lose our charter. We would be closed. So it's a blessing for us that we have a large group of dedicated young veterans who help us in so many ways. And when they show up with their kids, it's a bright spot in our day.
We never mentioned what time the VFW is open.
Our VFW is open 7 days a week, and we're fortunate for that. A lot of VFWs are open 2 or 3 days. Our VFW is open Monday through Friday from 4 to 9. On Saturday, we are open from 4 to 10, and our new hours on Sunday is 1 to 8. Every day we have some kind of food available. We have different menus each day. Wednesday and Friday, we have a menu that you can choose from, and every month we have at least one event where we expect more of the community to come in and support us, and it's a fundraising event, and we have some kind of special meal and music, and it's always a good time. We have people that are very welcoming. Guests are always welcome at our post. We have a sign-in book, and if they want to come in and see what we're doing, they're always welcome to come, and as long as you get signed in by a veteran or an auxiliary member, you're welcome to be there with us.
Thanks for joining us in our Soldier Salute, presented by Little Pig's Barbecue, serving Columbia since 1963 with that bodacious buffet. And Palmetto State Armory, American made for life. And Franklin Equipment, rent, buy, rely. And Atkins Law Firm Workers' Comp Attorneys, who you hire matters.